WFSB Plus in our digital center as we continue to follow the developing news of what is happening in Iran, from mass protests to what will the U.S. do to intervene. I welcome Dr. Kazem Kazaronian. He is a former UConn dean, and I want to bring him into our conversation because I know that so many people, many of you at home, are having questions about what's really happening and what's going to happen next. So Dr. Kazaronian, thank you so much for joining us on WFSB Plus.
Thank you very much for having me, Kara.
So I want to, in broad terms, bring us up to speed. It's perhaps that Americans were celebrating Christmas in late December, weren't even aware of the demonstrations that started to erupt. By now, we're all aware. We are seeing thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in the streets. We're hearing that more than 20,000 people who are demonstrating for freedom have been brutally murdered. Can you, as an Iranian American and an expert in this field, just help us understand what's happening at this pivotal moment?
Yes, as you mentioned, for almost the past 3 weeks, the Iranians have been on the streets, I would say in hundreds of thousands or millions across the country. Struggling against this regime, demanding total regime change. Although this uprising started and was sparked with an economic strike by the merchants of Tehran within hours through a very organized network of resistance units spread across the country, the slogans spread across the country, the tactics, and also the ability to resist the Revolutionary Guards on the streets. You mentioned close to 20,000 people have been killed. The National Council of Resistance of Iran, in an announcement yesterday, announced that 50,000 people have been imprisoned so far, and their families don't know anything about their whereabouts. And at the same time, thousands of people have been killed. The exact number is extremely difficult to determine at this point, and obviously the Iranian regime is not upright and open about it. So yes, the Iranians have been struggling against this regime for the past 48 years, past 47 years. The Iranians demand a democratic, secular republic government, one in which they can choose their own leaders, one in which they can live in peace with their neighbors and with the rest of the world, and one in which they can flourish.
So, Doctor, in 1979, there was that revolution where so many Iranians, I have friends who came and sought refuge, lost everything. Many of us may know them who came to America in 1979. And yet all of this time, there's been tyranny, there's been, Iran has been beyond this wall, so to speak. Now we're dealing with a blackout and this huge uprising, a demand for freedom. What brought us to this moment that it's so different right now and it feels so palpable, and that the U.S. might intervene?
Yes. You mentioned 1979 revolution. 1979 revolution was against a brutal regime, a brutal monarch that had a horrible security apparatus under him named Sawak. And I was a student at the universities in Tehran, in Shiraz, in Iran then at the time. And I remember vividly that so many of my classmates were arrested by Sawak agents who would come to the classroom and take these students away, and you would never ever hear from them simply because they had the wrong newspaper, they had the wrong book, or they had said the wrong thing. And it was basically the Shah's regime that destroyed, I would say, a generation of intellectuals, that left a vacuum that the current fundamental regime filled that vacuum. But within the first year or two, this regime betrayed the will of people and the desire of people for democracy. And since then, there has been constant suppression of freedom of the people on the streets of Iran, in the universities, in factories, everywhere, in every aspect of the life. And hundreds of thousands have been executed, have been killed in various uprisings. And the latest one which started about 17 days ago, is a
Yeah.
clear example of it. Although, as you said, it feels different.
It definitely
It
feels different. So, like, was there a pivotal moment? Is it just the times we're living in? Right now, I'm showing some video to our viewers of just people taking over the streets. We know that President Trump is deciding how to intervene. Let me ask you, do you think the U.S. should intervene as an Iranian expert and an Iranian American? And in what way would we do that?
The Iranian people and their organized resistance, their National Council of Resistance of Iran, in which I'm a supporter of, have never asked for boots on the ground. They have never asked for money. They have never asked for military attack on Iran, because none of them work. The Iranian people can basically are asking the recognition of their resistance, their own resistance by the world, their right to resist. And that means stopping appeasements, stopping supporting the mullahs whenever they come to the end of the line. And yesterday, President Trump announced that there will not be an attack, a military attack on Iran. To me, that is the recognition of the third option that was offered by Mrs. Maryam Rajavi, who is the leader of the National Council of Resistance of Iran. The third option is that no appeasement, no war. Let the Iranian people get rid of this horrible regime and replace it with a democratic regime. No engineered solution from outside. No reviving of the old monarchy that is a failure. Basically, what that means is that help us cut the oxygen to the current regime by taking the sanctions seriously, by taking the threats of putting the Revolutionary Guards in terrorist lists seriously, and by not appeasing them. And I think that the announcement yesterday by the American president that is a very powerful, positive step in that direction.
What is the current nuclear situation of Iran? I think the average American is concerned about what would happen if the U.S. got involved. It also seems that other powers in the Middle East have jumped in to try to de-escalate this situation. What can you tell us about the nuclear threat with Iran?
So the nuclear threat that was actually exposed by the National Council of Resistance again, about 20 some years ago, is Iran's way of exporting terrorism in the world. It has to be stopped. And I think that at the moment, at least for now, Iran has lost its ability to negotiate on that, simply because they have I don't know the extent of the damage to their nuclear facilities, but it is severe. And for the foreseeable future, Iran is not going to be able to have that as a negotiating chip. However, that does not mean that they have decided not to be nuclear. Iran wants nuclear weapons simply because they want to stay in power, and the world should do whatever they can do to stop Iran from accessing it and becoming a nuclear power.
Can you tell us a little bit about who is in power right now? And for instance, for the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, he's 86 years old. What is his health status right now? Is this part of the calculation that perhaps he's getting old and there's the ability to take him out or put someone else in?
Well, it is very clear that The Revolutionary Guards, led by Khamenei, are still in power, but they are fragmented. The fear has shifted from the Iranian people to the Revolutionary Guards. And we have heard a lot of news. We have seen a lot of occasions in which the Revolutionary Guards have put the arms down and have fled. We are seeing a lot of reports that they are sending millions of dollars. In one case that I heard, it is more than $1 billion that they're sending to their bank accounts or to their relatives outside the country in preparation for fleeing the country. The Iranian government is at its weakest point they have ever been. And at the same time, they have lost their power to negotiate, as I mentioned, on nuclear stuff, but they have also lost their proxies in the region. They have lost their proxies in Lebanon, in Yemen, in Iraq, mostly in Iraq, in Gaza, in Afghanistan. So they are at their weakest points, and I think that it is up to the Iranian people and their organized, well-organized resistance to get rid of them. And we are very hopeful that there is light at the end of the tunnel. It will undoubtedly have ups and downs. It will undoubtedly slow down at times for regrouping on both sides, but the direction is very clear.
Is it possible? Do you believe it's possible for Iran at this point to become a democracy? For, like we saw at the end of the Cold War when that Berlin Wall came down, some are saying this could be the moment. Do you think so?
The struggle for democracy in Iran is about 120 years old. And through that period of a struggle, there has been a high level of maturity that the Iranian people have received. Yes, if you look at the resistance units and their detailed plans for bringing democracy back to Iran, for giving people the right to elect a Congress that would decide the constitution of the country after 180 days, you would see that this is a mature, well-thought, doable plan. And all we need for the world is to stop appeasement of the current regime, to stop throwing them lifelines when they are super desperate and they are about to be destroyed. And that has been done by many administrations in the United States and in Europe, and that needs to stop. Yes, Iranian people are ready and capable to have democracy.
So if I'm understanding you, you're saying one of the things that we need to do isn't so much go in there with military force, but to just step back and let the Iranian people do their thing, that we might be at a moment where, as long as other world powers aren't rescuing the current regime, it can happen? Or what should America do?
Exactly what you said, and let me explain that a bit more. Just talk of engineered solutions. An example, I mentioned the son of the old monarch that has been arguing that the Iranian people want the old monarchy back, which is as laughable as bringing monarchy back to Russia, for example, or any other part that monarchy had left for decades or centuries.
You're speaking of Reza Pahlavi. You don't think he's the right person to take over?
He's not. First of all, the monarchy, people want democracy. They don't want the future generations to have a leader just because they're genetically connected to the previous rulers. But more than that, they want a platform that is democratic, and they want an organization or a leader that have proven in action that they have been with people. And Reza Pahlavi does not have any of this. He does not have a platform that is democratic. And even his directives to the Iranian people have been super confusing. If you look at his directives over the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks, one is stay peaceful but attack revolutionary guards. As confusing as it can be, these are the two messages. One is that he's begging the foreign countries to attack Iran. At the other hand, There are occasions that he says that no, let the Iranians do it themselves. One is that no, all sorts of very confusing messages that does not come from a capable leader. But then again, over the past 45 years, there is no transcript of activity and planning for democracy in Iran. And no, that is monarchy is dead in Iran. Iranian people want to be able to choose their own leaders, and that is not an option. But
So how do we
but
get there? I mean, does the US help with elections, or is that even feasible? This is a crystal ball question, but how long until you think you sound like you're predicting that if things go the way they're going, this regime is going to fall. So I'm wondering if if you have a timeline for us, or what we can expect to happen as Americans, and do we have any reason to be fearful?
So I cannot predict. I cannot predict the future. I can predict basically the dynamics of the system, and the dynamics of this uprising indicates that the people are becoming more powerful. We have seen 6 uprisings in the last 10 years, and the frequency and the intensity of them are increasing. So that is a very scientific path towards the uprising. At the same time, as I said, there is a high level of maturity among Iranian people, among Iranian intellectuals, among various groups. Iran is a very diverse country. We have Kurds, we have Arabs, we have Lurs, we have Turks, there are many nationalities that live inside Iran. And nothing short of a true democracy in which these nationalities, these minorities, various religious minorities have the right to choose their own language, have the right to choose their own cultures and practice their own cultures within a unified Iran. Short of that, which is only possible through a democratic mechanism, Iran cannot achieve democracy. And that is a plan that is dictated to the last details on how it could be implemented by the Iranian resistance. And the Iranian resistance have committed to 180 days of organizing the first Congress that would draft the new constitution. And in supporting us in achieving that, what we are asking the world is to cut the oxygen to the Iranian regime.
So cutting oxygen
Totally.
to the Iranian regime. I know we're going to run out of time here to pick your brain, and this is such a huge issue. But if you would tell me maybe the top couple of things that you would expect President Trump to do this week that would cut oxygen.
Total embargo on Iranian oil. Zero oil should be sold. Zero money should be sent to the Iranian regime. Cut off all the forces that are Iran's proxy forces from Iraq are coming to the streets of Iran and to various cities to help the suppression, help the Iranian Revolutionary Guards in suppressing the people. Stop them from coming in. And if there is one thing that the world can do immediately, and that is providing internet access to the Iranian people, so that they can send their news out, and then just very clear supportive words for the Iranian people would go far.
Okay,
Again, the
supporting
Iranian
them.
people.
And then Elon Musk maybe using Starlink and his capabilities. Does the world have that capability to give them internet back if we want to?
Yes, I would not have any objection to tons of internet devices being delivered or dropped on various parts of Iran. But I would say that boots on the ground, engineered solutions and alternatives from outside these are lifelines basically to the Iranian regime. That should not happen.
Okay, no boots on the ground, but send in the tech is basically what I'm hearing from you. And we will continue to watch as these protests evolve. I'll end with one final question that President Trump has said he's been promised that the killing is stopping and that there will be no hangings. Do you believe that?
I wish I could. Unfortunately, I don't. The Iranian regime is basically the 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 magoguery is the best word I can um, describe the behavior of the Iranian regime at every table, at every phone call, at every message that they send out. They have been playing the world for the past 50 years, whether it is nuclear negotiations, whether it is promising that they stay out of region, whether they stop their terrorism, and now whether they stop their executions. Iran has had the highest number of executions in the world last year. More than 2,000 people have been executed in Iran. Only that is before this uprising.
And now we're
Um,
talking more than 20,000 at least.
and now we're talking about many, many thousands.
Okay. Dr. Kazim Kazaronian, who is a former UConn dean, also an expert in Iran and the Middle East. Thank you so much for your time as the